Hello, and welcome to the Institute Fellows Corner. I'm Suzanne Norman, Director of External Relations, and I am thrilled today to have two of our fellows here, Tamiko Toland and Michael Finke. And I'd like to thank you, Michael. You have been one of the most prolific publishers at the Institute since it was founded. We have 8 papers from you. We'll have a link in this recording. But today, it's a joy to have the two of you come together and talk about some of the things that I know are usually on everybody's minds related to protected income. Michael, you wrote an article, or excuse me, a paper last year, License to Spend, award-winning, I might add. And I know one of the passions that came out of that was your desire to translate and take these complex issues, consider the emotions that are swirling around people's, minds. And I thought today it might be interesting to talk to both of you about what the industry is getting wrong with this kind of saving for retirement, spending in retirement. And I'd love to pass it to the both of you just to share some of your insights related to what isn't working so well.
To me, I first of all, I think most people are not aware that they have the option to buy an income when they retire. And we built up this framing around saves for retirement and build up these retirement accounts, and you have your IRA and you have RMDs to start pulling money out at the age of 73. But you don't really have any sort of a process for how you take the money that you've saved, especially in your employer plan, and turn it into a lifestyle. And the research shows that people love the idea of having a lifetime income. They love the idea of having a pension or Social Security, but many of them are unaware that they can take that savings and turn it into an income through the use of an annuity. And oftentimes when they Google it, they get negative information. I think one of the great things the industry has done is create the alliance or help support the alliance so that more consumers have an awareness. But I still think that there tends to be a lot of framing on the value of annuity as being protection, as protecting against negative outcomes. And I think, Tomiko, this is something that we've talked about in the past before, that maybe that negative framing isn't really the right way to portray the value of using an annuity.
Yeah, I think that people see the annuity often as that poverty avoidance, something that you don't want to have happen that's bad when you're 90. But really, when you start using the annuity, it's a way of helping you be able to invest more aggressively and really achieve aspirational goals in retirement.
Yeah, we recently did a survey where we asked people who were optimistic about the future whether or not they thought that they were going to be living well into their 80s and 90s. And it was the optimists, the ones that thought that they were still going to be able to go on vacation in the 90s, that were optimistic about what their life in their 80s was going to be like, that were most interested in having some sort of a lifetime income guarantee because they thought they were going to live well into their 90s. So they wanted to make sure that they didn't run out of money, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't have to sacrifice early on in retirement to avoid the possibility of having to cut back later on.
Thank you. And that goes into a lot of that paper that I referenced that you wrote last year as well, Michael. Yeah. So that reality, right, where we think about what people are planning for or maybe not, and then the reality. So thank you both. And so I'd love to maybe share just a little research that we saw coming out of the Alliance for Lifetime Income, which I think you're both very familiar with, which was speaking to again that tension perhaps between the consumer and their financial professional. And we saw 97% of consumers saying they want a protected income. So recognizing what you both said, that, negative outcomes and that negative may not necessarily be the right path. But what I thought was interesting with that question is that it was actually posed then to financial professionals, and only 79% thought that that was relevant. So let's go maybe to where you have dedicated so many years of your professional lives about translating and creating bridges. So what are some of the things that you think are working when we start talking about this deciphering retirement income?
People really love lifetime income. They love pensions. Not enough people have them anymore. They love Social Security. And for most, middle America, Social Security alone is not going to be enough to cover their expenses. So thinking about the annuity as just a way to add to Social Security, I think is very easy for them to understand and really embrace.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that advisors probably don't do enough of is at the very outset of the conversation about retirement income planning, let's look at your portfolio and decide how much of it you want to allocate to lifestyle and how much of it you want to allocate to maybe passing on after you're gone. And be very deliberate about saying this chunk of my money, the purpose of the money is to live as well as I can. And lifetime income has to be part of that conversation, because living as well as I can oftentimes means not just preserving those assets, but finding out the best way to spend them down over time in a way that I'm not afraid that I'm going to run out.
Well said. And I think that, I'm hearing a lot of translation again, which is, what's your objective? Performance is personal. I learned that many years ago. And one of the things that I think creating those bridges again in the language is we saw some research that was talking about from a financial professional standpoint, they actually felt that the clients would have a more enjoyable retirement and better outcome and maybe potentially have more income. And when clients were surveyed about all these benefits of annuities, only about less than half actually knew that that was a possibility through this protected asset class. So you've both done so much work in this, and one of the things I wanted to highlight for our listeners today, beyond all the research that Michael you've written, Tamiko that's coming this year, is that the Alliance for Lifetime Income just produced Annuities 101, as well as a chatbot called Allie. So those of you interested in learning more about translation beyond what Tamiko and Michael shared with us today, please visit protectedincome.org for more of our research and certainly some helpful tools to help translate this often complex topic. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you at another Fellows Corner.